Welcome to Dakota Growing. I'm Kelsey Deckert, your horticulture agent here in Burleigh County, joined in the radio access studio by my co-host Tom Kalb, NDSU Extension horticulturalist, and we have a guest speaker today.
That's right. We're very excited to repeat encore performance.
We got Jaden Deckert with Burleigh County Soil Conservation District. He is your urban conservationist.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Good to have you here, Gene.
Everything going good?
Everything's
New
great.
year.
Happy New Year.
New Year.
It's off to a great start so far.
Yeah, bringing a guest speaker, first show of the year.
We're really moving up in the world now, I tell you.
That's right. Got some good topics for today, I think, everybody.
Yep, of course. Nothing but the best for our watchers, our viewers, and listeners.
That's right. Should we just dive
Let's
right
get
in?
going.
Let's dive into it.
A lot to talk about today.
So I always like to talk to you about this, but New Year, and in our Chinese calendar, that's coming up, right? The lunar New Year.
Calendar. Not
that
just
officially
China.
Starts in like
There's
a couple
countries
weeks.
in Asia. There's more than just China.
Sorry.
Right. The lunar calendar that they.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Like it switches.
It's like tomorrow night, I think. Tomorrow, the next day.
Okay. So do you know what year it is this year?
Yes, it's not a good one really. Year of the snake.
Yeah, it is the year of the snake.
There's not going to be a lot. Oh, there you go. So there's not going to be a lot of new babies this year in Asia.
Not like last year with the year of the dragon.
Year of the dragon, like my little Kevin. Definitely, that's a big one because a dragon is, power, symbol of royalty, the king, leader. So you want to have a dragon boy.
So what do you know about snakes then?
What do you think? Snakes are kind of sneaky, clever. I don't know everybody has their own thought about it. What do you guys think about it? What's a snake?
They're nice for keeping pests out of the garden, I will say that.
They'll eat pests.
Nothing nice. I hate snakes.
Can't trust them, probably.
Well, you said a couple of the things. So they definitely say that snake means wisdom.
Right.
Charm.
Right.
Elegance. I don't know how that one fits.
Well,
but I would say the biggest thing that people talk about with snakes is transformation. Shed their old layer. So a new year, transformation for people.
Like a resolution.
Sure. Something
Take
like
off
that.
the old bad stuff and start anew.
Become a new person.
Wow. Okay.
Change. So with that, I'm going to...
Is this a gardening show, by the way?
Yes, we're moving over to that. Like I've talked in the past couple years, our National Gardening Bureau always names plants of the year. So I'm going to highlight two. And to start off, we got Year of the Milkweed. What do you think of milkweed?
I like that one.
Yeah, it's toxic, right?
Yeah.
Poisonous.
Little bit.
It's not really good milk for you.
Nope, it's not going to be at all.
It's a weed, huh? Isn't it like a
Depends
noxious
on who
weed?
you are, right? But anything could be a weed.
Well, it depends. Weeds is an unwanted plant, but milkweeds can be quite an invasive plant, and it is a noxious weed in a few counties in North Dakota.
A few counties.
There you go.
You're right. You're right. Not
how
state
about that?
listed, though.
I'm kind of looking negative, I guess. Sorry about that.
Yeah, let's
I'll try
talk
to shed
positive. Big thing to know about milkweed is our monarch caterpillars completely rely on it for survival. That's the only way they're going to morph into a beautiful butterfly.
Is milkweed.
They got
to suck that milk out of that plant.
And then it deters birds and predators away from them.
Full of toxins.
That's right.
Caterpillars
Makes them toxic.
Yep.
That's right.
Stellar pollinator plants, so not just for our monarchs, but others. And so milkweed oil, seed oil, is also featured in some body care products. Don't ask me which ones, but apparently they are. Some other facts is milkweed floss is used as a hyperallergenic filling for pillows and comforters. And then the genus, Tom, you can try to pronounce that.
Asclepius.
There you go.
Asclepius.
Is named for the Greek god of healing. You know anything about the Greek god?
I skipped that class.
Yeah,
Sorry
me
about
too.
that.
Me too.
But a lot of toxins in moderation have healing properties.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Like poppy seeds, right? Can't eat a ton of those. All right, so if you're going to grow milkweed, so one thing to know, this is you would want to select a native species. There's about 10 in North Dakota, and I'm sure, Jaden, you talk about this a lot when you talk about pollinators. You are going to commonly find these in ditches and sunny areas, but like Tom said, it can become very aggressive and weedy. The best selection if you have like a smaller garden or you want to add in the garden is going to be your swamp milkweed. That's just not going to spread like by the rhizomes where common does, and then it's also taller, so it's going to be preferred by those adult females for laying their eggs. Yeah, so good choice for smaller swamp milkweed.
Right. And what's that, showy milkweed? That's another good one.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit.
Orange flowers.
I grabbed our chart actually off of one of our great publications out there. And so here's just some of our common ones. You can see when they bloom. So most of them are going to be around that July to end of the summer, some a little bit earlier. You can look at some of those varying flower colors, what they like, what their height is, and then the risk of spread on there as well. But just to kind of show you the popular ones, showy milkweed, you're going to see kind of that star-like flower on that. There's your swamp milkweed and your common, and then butterfly weed as well. So I think butterfly weed's nice to have a pop of.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah, pop
And,
of orange. That one too isn't so aggressive as
That's
our
right.
common. So
It's a magnet for butterflies. They
Yeah.
really love it.
it is.
Just common milkweed's probably the only one to be a little bit concerned about.
Right.
But
right.
we want to support the pollinators and the monarchs, so milkweed's
Exactly.
no wonder it's a plant of the year.
There you go. Do you guys grow that at Minokan?
Oh yeah, we have a few of them. I actually like the swamp milkweed because I really like the waxy leaves it has. It puts a little bit of a sheen to it, so I think that's kind of a cool looking plant.
And what do you all get for pollinators on it throughout the blooming
Oh,
season?
we've gotten bees, butterflies, you name it. We've actually got some kind of native bees that you don't see a lot of, like a rusty belt bumblebee. We've seen a few of them, so it's kind of cool just looking and all the different insects you can see.
Outdoor garden or rain garden? Where's that one located?
So we have a couple of them in our rain garden. We have some in our outdoor garden, and actually in our high tunnel as well. We add a little bit of milkweed with some other pollinators, trying to draw the insects in to help pollination within the high tunnel as well.
So how does that work when you guys close the doors?
We only close the doors at night. Typically they're open every day, so we'll try to leave them open unless it's really windy or something. Then maybe we'll just shut one, but always try to have a frame of flowers just to help that pollination in there, because with it being in a building, you don't really have much for pollinators, especially when wind's not even that much of a factor in there.
Yeah, and you got to keep it a little bit cool. It can be very hot during the day, huh? So that's why you need some air movement during the
Yeah.
day. And bees aren't generally active at night, so you can close it up at night. So,
I just get an automatic lock in there.
Yeah.
or it could just grow plants that don't need pollination.
That's right.
That's
Well,
not possible.
I could do that too, yeah.
Sorry, just an idea there.
So just to wrap up kind of milkweed is, of course, there
Uh-huh.
are concerns. Like we've already stated, it is an aggressive spreader, has some levels of toxicity in it. And like I said, it isn't a state-listed noxious weed, but it is in some counties. So you work a lot with producers and farmers, ranchers and farmers. Do you get, when people come out and tour, a lot of questions about that?
We do. We get a lot of questions like, well, is it going to kill my cows? That obviously you have a picture of cows. We hear that one all the time. And I guess, honestly, cattle are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They're only going to eat that plant if they don't have any other choice. They know what's not good for them or what is good for them. So as far as that, it's really not a concern but we do get a lot of questions. That's probably the number one, because everybody knows it's toxic. So
And farmers don't want it spreading into cropland and everything as well.
right, yep.
So,
So if if the stupid cow in the herd takes a bite, then can cows talk to each other and say, "Hey,
don't eat that.
stop that, you idiot"?
I'm not an expert,
Or
but
like-
they might be able to.
Or they say, "I kind of got a tummy ache here, Joe. What should I do? Should I
Go get a drink of water.
Dumb person, Leo, quit eating the milkweed. Is
That's
that what the
right.
cows say? Can they talk to each other like that?
They might. I
think
don't know.
birds do that. They can give distress calls.
Yep.
What to stay away from?
I guess cows can.
They'd have to, like we've said, you'd have to ingest quite a bit, I think, to see some of those levels actually come up and affect your cattle.
Yeah.
So,
Not
okay.
a big problem.
So my other one that I wanted to feature today is Year of Dogwood. It's the Year of the Dogwood. Tom, you like dogwood?
Yes, I think dogwood is a beautiful shrub, especially like the one you show here with the variegated
Variegated, yeah.
leaves. And the red twig dogwood is beautiful in the winter time. You often see it like in swamps where the milkweed were in the summertime, I guess. And but dogwood it's a nice because it's got some fruits that birds appreciate. And but the one issue with dogwoods, a couple things. One, I think, is generally likes moist soil. So that's, most of North Dakota, it's not that moist. Like we're right on the edge of a drought right now, for example, here. And so you got to put it in the right spot, like a low-lying spot or a spot that you can water it. I think that's the biggest issue with
Key.
that. And make sure you get the right dogwood, because some dogwoods are not hardy.
For here, no?
Yeah, like there's a lot of really popular flowering dogwoods that are popular, like in Virginia and stuff, but they won't make it here in brutal North Dakota.
That's right. So some fun facts about them. Actually, they have found fossils resembling today's dogwoods that date back over 60 million years. For those of you who are interested in that kind of stuff. The wood is used for tool handles and golf club heads. They are native to North America, but also found in Asia and Europe. And Native Americans used dogwood trees to make arrows, daggers, and toothbrushes. So kind of some interesting things. And just continuing, their flowers are actually bracts, so similar to like a poinsettia when we talked about those last month. Like you said, Tom, the berries do have a source of nutrition for at least 36 different bird species. Their roots are used to make brightly colored dyes of reds, blacks, and yellow. So I thought that was kind of interesting that people dig those up to use. And then some species will produce fruit that actually can be used in wines and preserves as well. I don't think we got any of those here.
Problem is the birds like it.
They're going to beat you
They
to the
beat
punch.
you. They beat you to it. You just turn around one day and they're all gone. All
Yeah.
the dogwood, like the gray dogwood, those white berries, and there's red berries and blueberries on dogwoods. So yeah, but
Yeah. There's a lot
I've
of varieties.
I've never been that hungry. Either that or swamp milkweed. I just never developed a taste for that.
I wouldn't, probably. I would.
Especially after this episode.
Yeah. All right, so dogwood in the landscape. Dogwood is, like you said, as long as you find the right spot, it is pretty easy to grow. It's going to be hardy, maybe a little bit more on the short-lived side for a shrub. Very low maintenance. You talked about that winter interest, so here's that red twig in the photo for you guys. The maturity can be anywhere from 3 to 10 feet tall, and it's going to grow best in that full sun, maybe a little bit partial shade. The one thing that's nice too is it's similar to like lilacs or caraganas, that if they are overgrown, you can cut them all the way back to the ground and they're going to come right back and look great. You guys got any dogwood out there?
Oh yeah, in our arboretum we have a little bit of everything, so there's
And
definitely
does
some dogwood
Soil
in there.
Conservation carry those as a?
We do.
Do you know what varieties?
I
of those
don't
ones?
offhand, but I know we do carry some
People can add
varieties.
those in for their cost share program or?
Yep, or
surplus
just
sale?
surplus sale, or even our tree order on our website.
Yeah, it's very popular. So what do you guys think of plants of the year? Good ones?
Yeah.
Besides that milkweed, right? There's such initiative, though, out there for, monarchs and everything. And those coming on endangered lists.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
that's,
a
Pollinator fever. Everybody's
That's
so worried
the
about
thing,
pollinators. So that's that. That's why the milkweed
Was
is a plant of the
chosen.
year, a weed, and but dogwoods are good for the north here. Just gotta be in a kind of a moist spot. Mm-hmm. But they're easy to grow.
Yeah.
Who am I to complain? You know, they didn't ask. I didn't get a vote. Did you get a vote on
No,
this?
I didn't.
Okay.
I don't know who actually
They
gets
didn't
the
just
vote.
call and ask you, Tom.
No, one year I voted for Creeping Charlie as Plant of the Year, and after that they took away my vote. So
Makes sense.
I thought Canada Thistle was a beautiful plant, but
Yeah.
that's the last time I got that ballot in the mail. Live and learn.
That's right. Well, like I said, these are only a couple. There are more. If you want to check out their website, you can easily do a Google search and you can see some other ones out there. I believe they usually select a vegetable plant and then also a house plant. So there's a couple more out there to learn more and see if you're interested in doing something new and adding a plant in. So I think with that, I'll let you educate us on something today.
All right.
What do you got for us?
So today I got mulches is what I'm going to talk about.
great.
Mulches.
So we're
important.
it is, and we're kind of gearing up for the growing season. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are starting to get the garden plans together and trying to figure out what they're going to do and what kind of vegetables we're looking at growing, or even flower beds. So
Yeah.
figured we'd visit about this a little bit. So the benefits of mulching, regardless of the kind, typically you reduce erosion, you want to preserve moisture, and to reduce weed pressure. So with that, we got to really kind of consider our goals. We'll talk about a couple different types of mulches. So when you're looking at implementing a different type of mulch, you really kind of have to have this goal in mind, because that can help you select your mulch. So whether it's feed the soil, prevent erosion, suppress weeds, aesthetics, that's a big one. I know everybody wants to have a beautiful yard. Temperature regulation, plant protection, and water conservation, or preserving that water, because like Tom said, we kind of are on the brink of a drought, even though I'd be okay if it'd be a drought till about April.
You are so right. I'm with you 100%.
Do you want to elaborate just on feeding the soil? Like, what do you mean by that for our listeners and viewers?
Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit more when I
I'm
get
jumping
into
the
our
gun.
organic mulches. What I mean by that is it's going to break down, it's going to provide some form of nutrition for the soil, it's going to be food for your microbes that are within your soil.
Okay.
So we'll get into that a little bit more when I hit that. But first we'll talk about our inorganic mulch types. So rock, plastic, landscape, fabric. And I'm just going to lay it all out there. I honestly don't love every single one of these mulches, and I'm sure my co-hosts feel the same way about certain ones. So
Wow. A lot of controversy today, looks like.
a little bit. So I was kind of excited to bring it to you and see what you guys had to say as well. So all right, our inorganic mulches, the benefits, it has the potential to last many years. It's less labor because typically it's just one application or once every few years. It'll save you time and money. It's kind of the same reason, because typically you can apply it, and depending on the mulch, you can get 5, 10, 15 years out of it, depending on the amount of maintenance you put in. So our first one, the first controversy right off the bat, I know I've heard Kelsey talk about this a little bit, but the benefits, I had to put aesthetically pleasing, because there are a lot of people that think it looks beautiful. I'm not a big fan of it. Other benefits, it's wind resistant, low maintenance. Disadvantages, number one, it's a heat trap. So in the heat of July, it really does a great job of absorbing that heat, and then you might even see some scorch on trees or other perennial plants. You must clean out the litter. So at the end of the year, you're going to have to clean out any dead litter, because Mother Nature is always trying to turn any dead litter back into soil. So you're just asking for weed problems eventually. And weeds will eventually come through. They're tougher than you think they should be, so they can withstand some of those rocks.
So how about, so you guys are horse people. Do you believe in horse whisperers? Is there such a thing as a person who's a horse whisperer? Can
Like
communicate with horses?
whispering or
Yeah.
just really good with horses?
Well, I don't know how
I think
I don't know
people
how they
can
do
connect
it.
with
They kinda-
horses.
They put their face right next to the ear of the horse, and they kind of,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the horse behaves, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so? It really works. There's horse whispers.
I think there's people who can really connect and work very well with horses that would be considered a horse whisperer.
You see, the reason why I
You're a
bring,
plant whisperer, aren't you?
that's why I'm. That's
I knew it.
I'm a plant whisperer, and I see this picture, and I can feel the pain of that plant in that rock mulch. It's crying to me. It's like, why are you doing this to me? I'm burning up. These rocks are doing nothing for me. They do nothing. They're not. It's not. If you care about plants, okay, I question if it's aesthetically pleasing. If you care about plants, yeah, it won't blow away. That's true. But like, how about also in springtime? It may cause premature bloom, and so that can have. I can lose my fruits, my apple tree if it's under rock mulching, because all the blooms come out too early because it's a heat trap, like you say, Jaden. And so, as speaking as a plant whisperer, I think rock mulch is. I call it mulch madness. That's just my.
This is thumbs down.
It's my thumbs down. But who am I to say?
Oh, I
What do
agree
think?
with you 100%.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
Bad. You start with the worst one here.
I know.
think.
Well, I can only go up from here,
You
like
got
you
it.
said
I'm
earlier,
so
right?
with you on that.
So our next one, plastic mulch. Depending on the situation, I'll give you a little background on how we utilize it. Actually, your Spring Fever Forum gave me the idea, Tom. You had an individual on that was talking about the only, I think, study done on watermelon. I think it was back in the 50s. And they had used clear plastic mulch to grow their watermelon through. And we did it, and actually we compared it to a couple other mulches, and it yielded significantly better. But benefits is it captures heat, reduces the weed pressure, and it'll reduce erosion around your plants. Disadvantages, it's not water permeable. So like I said, what we had to do when we grew watermelon, we actually had to run a drip line underneath it in order to get water into the root zone. It's only good for one growing season, and it's kind of a bugger to remove in the fall. So that's kind of the advantages and disadvantages, but the year we did try it, it seemed to really help our watermelon out anyways.
I would say, that's obviously a picture you guys are sharing, or you're sharing from growing it and stuff, but you wouldn't have to necessarily run that drip line. You could cut a bigger hole, and the great thing about melons is once they get started, they're going to do a great job shading out those weeds. So
Right.
you could have a larger hole just to be able to actually get like a soaker hose, or where you're not running a drip line and adding more expense to your garden.
Yep, absolutely. It's just a little bit easier for us when we're running our drip lines instead of having to go hand water or stick a soaker hose across the top. So the next one, here again, this isn't one of my favorite ones, but I know especially I work a lot in the no-till garden arena, so a lot of people like utilizing this. The weed barrier fabric, it comes in a couple different styles. Sometimes it's an actual fabric, sometimes it's more of a plastic weaved type fabric. So the benefits, it's permeable, so when it does rain, the water's going to soak into the soil. Once again, that one helps reduce weed pressure, does a really good job at that, except it just amazes me. They always seem to find every little hole. If you put a staple in there to hold it down, a weed's going to find it. I mean, that's truly kind of amazing that they can find that little spot. And then it can last up 10 years. Some really good applications for this is tree rows. I know we sell a lot of it out when we're doing our custom planting out in the county. Disadvantages, you have to clean the residue off, especially in a garden scenario, because there again, it's just going to build up or be a tripping hazard. You need a few extra tools. So if you have the plastic weave style, you're going to want a torch to burn your holes in there instead of cutting it with a knife, because that'll prevent fraying. And I know you guys are both from North Dakota, correct me if I'm wrong, but we get wind once in a while here.
Yeah, sometimes.
And then after several years, especially in a garden scenario, if you're just reusing the same hole, you are going to create compaction within the rest of the garden, whether it's from walking on it or just not there being a root system in that particular area. You are going to compact that soil.
Well, I gotta say, I'm looking forward to using it in our garden this year. As much grassy weeds as we dealt with, and the thistle, and then I talked about on the show how I had enough and just had to kill it off early.
Yeah, no.
So I'm looking forward to having it over the top. See how it goes.
No, it'll definitely prevent weeds. There's no question. All right, so now we're going to move into our organic mulches. And I'll start off with this slide here. This is just to kind of be a good reference for everybody out there. The first one's your ideal microbial diet. So the reason I throw this in there is because this is a really good gauge on how long that mulch is going to last. It's not true with everything, but it'll help you kind of decipher that that's what they want to eat. That's ideal to them. So the more carbon you have in your mulch, the longer it's going to last. The more the less carbon, the quicker it's going to go away. So it's always kind of to make sure that aligns with our goals when we're selecting our organic mulches.
How does somebody measure that?
So if you want to get an official measurement, you can send it off to a lab and get it tested. There's a lot of different tables like this online that'll give you a range. And like even wood chips, 400 parts carbon to 600 parts carbon. Well, it depends on the type of wood chips that you're utilizing. If it's a hardwood, it'll last longer. If it's softer like a cottonwood, it'll go away a little bit quicker.
Yeah, but the big picture here you're saying is like the high carbon sources like wood chips and cardboard will last much longer as a mulch than the low carbon materials like, let's say, cocoa shells or grass clippings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, those will break down a lot quicker.
Yep.
So our first one, wood chips. I personally don't mind wood chips. I think they're aesthetically pleasing. They are a lot of maintenance. You do have to clean them out once in a while, and they're organic, so they're gonna try to break down. So you might have to reapply and add once every couple years. So I really like wood chips personally, especially in like a pollinator bed or just even a flower bed. I think they look nice around a house, that type of thing.
Can get lots of colors these days.
Yep, you can get a lot of different colors. But one thing, especially with these higher carbon mulches, that you have to be concerned about, depending on what you plant in them and how close you get, that nitrogen in your soil is gonna get tied up, because nature's always going to be trying to break them down as effectively as possible. So you might have a shortage of nitrogen, so you might have to amend accordingly depending on your mulch type. So just something to kind of keep in mind too.
That's right. So the plants will just look a little bit pale and maybe slightly yellow. That'd be a sign of nitrogen deficiency. But you can easily remedy that with just, some miracle grower fertilizer to help provide that food that the plant needs.
Exactly.
Right?
So our next one is cardboard. I really like utilizing cardboard. It's a great way. It's really hard for weeds to come through. I will caution though, certain plants do not like germinating through cardboard. We've kind of had our struggle with pumpkins trying to come through cardboard. And actually I did get them to grow here. That's what I had planted here, or this was right after I had planted. They did end up coming through, but I cut a big old hole. I have about an 8-inch hole, so I had a little extra weeding within them holes that I had to do. But cardboard does do a nice job. And from my personal experience, depending on if you get like cardboard from a bigger box that a refrigerator came in, that's thick enough, it'll last about 2 years. So you can get about 2 growing seasons out of it.
See, my grandma would definitely say, that looks like garbage out there. So she's going to say, no thanks on that one. That looks trashy.
Beauty's
Is that a
in the eye.
garden?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
with you
we'll
on that.
This was my first year with that, and we'll get into it a little bit later. It gets better, I promise.
Okay, I hope so.
So this one I really liked. It's a little bit more labor intensive, but we utilized paper mulch. You can get this at any local hardware store. This did a really nice job for us. It kind of took me back to elementary school because it came in the whole 4-foot rolls, when you'd sneak into the
Like
teacher's
those-
lounge
yeah,
and
like-
there'd be the big cart with the rolls of paper on it.
Right.
So that's
Were
what
you
this.
stealing those back in the
I
day?
should have been, and
You
then I'd
said
be
you're
using them for this.
Wow.
You're sneaking it in there?
But no, this did a great job for us. It really reduced the weed pressure. It did a nice job of absorbing water and the rainfall. The only thing I didn't like about this particular paper, we got some different stuff, but it was really thin. So what we had to do, we tried stapling it down, and our wind would just blow the paper around and tear the staples out. So we actually took compost, and the seams where we covered it with compost to hold it down. So it was a little bit more labor, but it did a really nice job this particular year. It lasted about to the first week of August for us, which by then all our plants are far enough along that there's really nothing that's going to hinder production at that point if that's our goal. Our next one, and I know Tom's heard me talk about a little bit with this, is straw. We've utilized this for potatoes and other plants. Honestly, straw's not my favorite mulch, and there's a couple reasons for it. One, it's really high in carbon, so it takes a long time for it to break down, and I've had people actually tell me that their plants didn't do as well because of that nitrogen cycle. They didn't amend correctly. And then the other thing is it's so light and fluffy, so it really doesn't take much for this to blow all over your yard and just really get everywhere and make a mess. So you can look in the picture, they're actually putting net wrap over the top of it just to hold it down. So like I said, good, bad, and ugly, and straw's definitely not on my top 10 for
Right.
mulches to use.
It's going to bring in mice. Well, that's what I think of.
I think
That
of-
labor intensive
yeah.
of putting that netting down.
Yep,
keeps the soil cool in the spring.
it does do that.
So I don't like that because I want my plants to start jumping out of the ground. So usually we put our straw on once the summer's really going hot, and that's when the plants appreciate the straw. Like our tomatoes would appreciate straw at that time. So, and it's natural, it breaks down. Generally, I'm a big fan of organic. Anything that's organic and is better than the inorganic, like the plastic or should I say those like rubber mats or those rocks. But yeah, that's a good. Covered it well, sir.
All right. So next we were going to talk about warm season cover crops. So if you remember when I was talking about the paper, I said that it broke down and it was kind of done by August. Well, to prevent more weeds, I took the perfect opportunity to plant a cover crop. So you can actually see my tomato cages in those photos. Right up front, it's a big, beautiful basil plant and some corn in the background. So I just broadcasted the cover crops right around my plants. I really didn't, it's cover and it's just adding to the soil health. So I didn't really care about walking on it. That really wasn't a concern. I wasn't concerned about damaging the cover crops. And then the picture next to it, I just wanted to show this. If it really goes wild like it did here, what a great snow trap. That's extra moisture that we're able to, really collect and give our gardens a little bit of a head start. And then I understand that 90% of the viewers aren't able to do this, but I was able to graze that cover crop as well with sheep. So I'm just adding a little bit more fertility into that garden while they're grazing. It's coming out their back end. So that's just another added bonus that I'm able to utilize it. So in the spring, obviously, you see the one with the snow. What I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to take a lawnmower and I'm going to mulch it up real nice. And then I'll either plant right into that residue or depending on, I might cover that too to prevent with like a weed barrier fabric, that type of a thing too. So, but it will break down underneath that as well since it's in contact with the soil. And then since we're on cover crops, I figured I'd follow up with the cool season cover crop. So this is something that you'd want to utilize in September. So kind of after a lot of our vegetable plants are done and growing and maybe when we want to clean out the garden, but we don't want all that bare ground to go all over or to blow all winter. So we'll use something like rye or even clovers, that type of a thing. There's a little bit more management if you utilize rye. Typically September 15th is when you want to plant it. It'll actually germinate, it'll come up, it'll grow for probably till the end of October, and then it'll go dormant over winter, and then it'll come up in the spring. And the benefit of that is it's harvesting that CO2 and sunlight and putting it off into our soil, kind of prepping the stage, if you will, for the following year. So that's kind of one of the benefits. But because it's a biennial, we're going to have to kill it in order to plant what we want to grow. So we'll actually cover it with weed barrier fabric and starve it of sunlight for 10 to 14 days. You can obviously use as a herbicide as well, but it really provides a nice green mulch to cover our soils for the following year. And then in the picture to the right, you can kind of see just how long it lasts, because that's a pretty high carbon crop too. So we'll get a full year out of that, or a full growing season anyways, out of covering our soils. All right, so now I have finished compost. Some people consider this a mulch, some people just consider it an amendment. I threw it in here just because there's a lot of benefits to utilizing compost as a mulch. Some of the detractions is it's not going to prevent erosion. If we have that big gully washer rain, that's going to run just as quick as the soil will, maybe quicker yet. If you utilize too much, it'll actually be hydrophobic, so it's not going to absorb the water like we want it to for our plants. But as far as a nutrient amendment, it really does a nice job. It breaks down, it works well with the biology. All in all, I really kind of like utilizing compost in any situation. I just kind of limit my amounts. I don't want to use too much. Next one is alfalfa. I really like alfalfa. It basically acts the same as straw, except our nitrogen content's a heck of a lot higher. So it's going to give us a little bit more of a nitrogen component. And the other thing I like about it is it's a lot denser, so it's not going to blow as much as straw would either. This you don't even really need to cover. If you just put it right on top of the soil, it'll stay there. So that really does a nice job. I know another person, or a few other people like utilizing manure. This one, I like it better than an inorganic mulch, but once again, it's not my favorite. You can get a lot of weeds with it. You can get really high nitrogen levels, so that can cause some burn on some of your plants. So, I mean, I'd use it sparingly, or better off, I would try to compost it and break it down and let it kill off some of those weed seeds. So that's just something to be aware of. Cocoa shells, this is a really popular one, especially in flower beds. This is a little bit higher in nitrogen, so this will break down. I'd say it's good for about a season. Certain people complain about mold. I don't know if anybody said anything to you about that, Tom, but
Yeah, sometimes it gets some slime mold on it, but generally, that's not a major problem. Nothing toxic for the plants.
right. So, but all in all, that's a pretty good mulch. I know a lot of people, and it's
smells
just
good.
it
I
smells
like it.
good.
Dogs don't like it, huh? It's
Oh,
toxic
really?
to dogs.
Well, they say there's a lot of, like, I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past, just because I do like this mulch a lot. They say, yeah, like, you got to be careful with dogs, but I've never seen a dog go over to it.
Stupid dogs.
Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe the
Stupid
dogs that are
cattle.
eating socks or something yet,
Yeah,
too,
right.
are eating these ones.
Right.
I think it's great. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find it here locally in the last few years, but it's very, to me,
Expensive.
smells good. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it does break down. You mentioning the mold, I know, like, after a year or two and stuff, I just always kind of go in and, like, rake it up a little bit, and if I do see some spots that kind of get that, I definitely, as it's breaking down, you'll see a little bit of that and add some over the top. So this is definitely one of my favorite mulches.
So moving on to grass mulch. This one, it's a good nitrogen source, but once again, I want to let people know, if you spray your lawn, do not put it in your gardens. You can really cause a lot of herbicide injury, so that's one of the main reasons I put this one on. It is a nice mulch, but if you spray your lawns, do not put it in your gardens. Okay, so now we're going to get into a couple of the different ones. Wool pellets. This is something new that we tried this year. They actually take sheep's wool and pelletize it. And it's really a great mulch. It's a slow release nitrogen fertilizer. It does a nice job of absorbing water and then releasing it back to the plant. It's actually got a 4-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio, so it's really high in nitrogen. And the only reason it lasts as long as it does is because there's a lot of keratin within that wool, so it's a lot slower to break down. But you can purchase this in a lot of different places. I found it online. University of Pennsylvania Extension's actually done some studies with this that are pretty interesting. So it really does a nice job. And then we're going to talk about the combinations of the hugelkultur, or that we utilized in the hugelkultur. So I figured a lot of people wouldn't know what that is, but hugelkultur itself is more or less mulch. You start off with hard logs, and then a hardwood log, then soft wood logs, and you just create a pile, and then you actually take grass or hay. We use prairie hay, and you just kind of layer it up. It's very similar to lasagna gardening without the bed. So we created that pile, and since I had that loose dirt, if I would get a gully washer, it would wash a lot of my dirt and compost off. So then I went and planted the rye. That's what the picture of the cardboard was earlier. And I let that rye grow up, and once again, it was more of an erosion prevention. I know it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it did do the job, and I cut that 2-3 times throughout the summer every time it would throw a seed head. And then eventually I covered it with alfalfa, which is a lot prettier. And this is kind of what it looked like. We actually had some beautiful pumpkins grow. We planted the North Atlantic giant variety, and boy, oh boy, did they get big. We had a lot of 70-pound pumpkins this year.
Kind of reminds me of our manure pile in the corral that we had gourds growing out of this year.
The old corral garden, it worked out great.
I don't think I would pick this one as a top choice.
So that's what I have.
All right.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move along here. My talk this morning is going to be about the garden adventure of 2025. So our adventure begins. Temps are in the 40s. Days getting longer.
Yeah.
It's time for us to start
Wonderful.
making plans. So in our adventure, what kind of adventure are you guys? Are you
Try something new type
how about,
person?
like, for example, if Elon Musk
Nope.
said, I'll give you a free trip to the moon.
Pass.
It's free.
Pass.
What's wrong?
Pass.
You're afraid of heights?
Afraid of going into space, I'll tell you that much. I ain't jumping on that
How about if I throw on a
rocket.
trip with the
moon?
The rover.
The rover?
You can drive all around.
I'm gonna say,
Kinda looks like Medora a little bit.
you
out
know, that just seems like a risky thing. If I balance like what the risk factor is, what's the chances of me not coming back? I'm gonna pass.
there. Come on. A lot of people pay to go up. They pay to go, like Jeff Bezos.
People who don't know what to do with their money.
Well,
Too
that's
much
true
money.
too.
Okay, it's too much for you. How about this? If I offered you a free trip skydiving out of an airplane,
That
I'm
one I
out.
might consider.
would you go for that?
I'd maybe
How about
go
you?
for
Would
that
you
one.
go for that? I'm not.
You see, there's different kinds of people in this world.
Yeah.
There's 3 types of people of adventure scale. One is explorers. Explorers are the people who just want to try new things. They're going to take chances. They're going to see things that nobody else sees. Like going up to the moon or jumping out of a plane. And then the least adventurous people I call settlers. They're people who I'm okay with where I am. I'm just going to settle down here. I don't need...
Be comfortable.
I'm not going to explore anywhere. I'm happy right here. That's a settler. I'm comfortable where I'm at.
That's you?
I have to say yes.
Yeah.
But then there's another level up in intermediate. That's a pioneer. A pioneer doesn't want to be the first person who tries it.
Yeah.
They're like, they weren't on Christopher Columbus's boat, for
Yeah.
example.
No.
But once they heard about it, they say, okay, I think it'd be safe. So then I'll give it a try. So those are pioneers. So, I don't know, maybe Jaden sounds more like a pioneer type.
Yeah, I don't want to be number 1, but I'll watch the first guy jump out. I'll be number 3 or 4.
After you make sure the first person survives.
That's right.
There you Yeah, but you missed out on all that excitement, unpredictability. Okay, how about if I gave you a free trip to the Florida and you can watch sharks in a shark cage? Would you go for
Nope.
That one I might bite on.
See?
You might bite on it.
Yeah, I
you
might
might
bite
get
on
bit.
you.
Or the shark might bite me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're trying to see what kind of adventure you are in your garden. How about like, do you like to go on those amusement park rides? And
Oh yeah, I love those.
No.
I see some.
I'll do a roller coaster that's up and down. None of that, like, let's go upside
Twisty stuff.
down. Yeah.
Okay, you're definitely. Are you guys like?
I'll
horse-
sit on the sideline with you, Tom. We'll watch Jaden go up there.
You know what? I've taken a lot of chances in my life. I think
You
in,
have,
in
actually.
my heart I am a settler, but I have traveled all over the world in developing countries, so I have kind of bitten the bullet and gone for it. But how about you guys like horses? Would you hop on a bucking bronco?
One known to buck? No,
Yeah,
but have I gotten on ones that have bucked on me? Yes, but not willingly like, hey, this is one of our best buckers. No.
Yeah,
You know what? When you get older and stuff, that hitting the ground is not as fun. And then I also have my little girls I got to think about. Like,
That's
could they
right.
live without mom?
That's
Nah.
right. That's
Oh,
your-
you would go
Do I
dark
wanna-
right away. You're not necessarily gonna die.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I could be a paraplegic.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot.
You can be a good mother on a wheelchair. You could do that.
Yeah, but I want to live my life yet too,
Yeah.
not from a wheelchair. If I have a say in it.
Okay, so now we got a pretty good perspective what you guys are all about as far as your adventures. None of you are really,
Explorers sounds
you're not
like
really
none of us.
explorers,
No.
but it's good to know your limits. So that now we're talking about gardening. So like one of your first choices in the garden will be like how much of adventure you want to do planting your garden, and what varieties you're going to select. So like some people they just go, oh, I'll go to Walmart and get whatever they got there. But you know I have to say that you can do so much better than that. They're so limited in their choices. They have so few hybrids. You know, a lot of these varieties have been around longer than me, and I'm not the youngest guy there is, and I can find you varieties easily that will be more productive and will resist diseases naturally, and give you a more secure crop. And so that's why, I get lots of seed catalogs. I love going out to my mailbox this time of year and getting my catalog. And what we do, I look for some of the most promising ones that ripen very early, ones that resist diseases naturally, ones that are productive, one can tolerate more drought. And we come up testing them in our home garden variety trial program. And for those of you, I got the website right there on the bottom, but for those of you on the radio, it's ndsu.ag/home garden trials. So these are the North Dakota home garden variety trials. ndsu.ag for agriculture/home garden trials. And we test over 100 varieties every year. And some people take chances and some people are more reluctant. But I want to tell you just some varieties I encourage you to be a pioneer and to try varieties that you may not be able to find at Walmart, for example. Go for the super sweet corn. This corn will have 3 times the sweetness of a standard corn. It's outstanding quality. Just get varieties that can germinate in cool soil. And it'll say that when it describes the variety. Like the extra tender varieties are very good for that. And burpless cucumbers. Don't limit yourself to the standard cucumbers. Burpless types, there's types that are earlier ripening, resist diseases, just great quality, smooth skin, thin skin, almost no seeds. And these are the types of varieties I'm talking about now that in our trials, I'll work with over 300 families every year. And after everybody tries these one time, they won't go back to those old varieties. Like here's a snacking cucumber called Green Light that you harvest it when it's only like 4 or 6 inches long. Just crisp, delicious, almost no seeds. A real winner. How about kohlrabi? You guys ever eat kohlrabi?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, did you like kohlrabi?
It wasn't my first choice. We'll put
Wasn't
it
your
that way.
first choice? It's an acquired taste. My introduction to kohlrabi came as a kid when that was, let's say 50 years ago. And this was before there was computers or smartphones.
Yeah.
And like almost no TV channels. And so like, what do you do when you got nothing to do? Well, I would just go outside and shoot hoops on my backyard hoop, play basketball for an hour. And, I would just pretend, like, oh, there's 5 seconds left. Tom Kalb, he's got the ball. He's ready to take a shot, win the championship. And then I throw up a wild shot. And unfortunately, a lot of times, the ball just went everywhere. And it often went to my neighbor's garden. And, it damaged some of his plants. And I always kind of felt bad about that. And one day, the gardener, such a nice guy, his name was Dan, Mr. Mannion, just the kindest guy. He said, Tom, can you come over here, please? And I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to get my
Butt chewed, huh?
I'm going to get my butt chewed for that basketball. But he said, Tom, have you ever seen this vegetable here? And I said, no. I was so scared, but I said, no. And he, look at that. And I said, wow. I said, it looks like a spaceship. He goes, yeah, here, let me cut some for you, Tom. And it tastes just like a very mild, crisp cabbage. So that's kohlrabi. It's easy to grow. And there's some purple varieties that are just so vibrant. Mm-hmm. And there's a new one called Constance this year I want to try. So Mr. Mannion it's the kindest man I ever met. And I always apologize for hurting his zucchini plants with my basketball shooting. No wonder I never made the team. Romaine lettuce. That's another one. People think so fancy, but it's very easy to grow. There's some heat-tolerant varieties, like Blue Rocks and Fusion. Those are great. You got to try romaine lettuce. Look for ones that can take the heat. And a lot of people don't know about snap peas, but snap peas are great because you don't have to shell them, and you can eat the whole pod, and they're so crisp and juicy. Sugar Ann is a tremendous variety. It's so easy to grow. Again, you don't have to trellis it, and just crisp, sweet pods. Sugar Ann. I encourage you to explore and try that this year.
Is that one of the less stringy varieties?
Yeah, Sugar Ann does have a little bit of a string, but
okay.
The rest of the qualities make it so good that I'll do a test with this. And 4 out of 5 gardeners will take Sugar Ann over a stringless type, just because it tastes so good and it's so productive. It's a real winner.
That's what our daughter said to try. They get through school vegetables and fruits. They get to try a new fruit and vegetable, and she had snap peas a week or so ago, and man, she said, they are so good, Mom. Have you ever tried them? I said, yes, I know they are good. So she said, we have to put those in the garden this year.
Oh, so listen to Kelsey's daughter there.
Yeah.
And potatoes, I encourage you to explore and try this purple potato. It's our most popular one in our trials, called Purple Viking. Maybe just if your kid's a football fan, they might want to grow it, but it's just it tolerates drought. It tolerates scab disease, which is our number one disease among our potato plantings. And it's got these beautiful purple rose marbled skin and pure white flesh that's great for baking. So
it almost looks like a rock.
We grew a few of those out at the farm last year.
If I seen that just laying, I'd be like, ooh, look at that rock.
They're very popular. And order them now before the seed always runs out early. Okay. I encourage you to try these orange cherry tomatoes or golden cherry tomatoes, sun gold or sun sugar. They have such an intense, sweet flavor. Like you say, kids just will gobble these things up. So, again, explore is what I'm trying to tell you today in our gardening adventure. Let's try some new things, and you might be rewarded with some just gold in the garden there. And then how about delicata squash? People like to grow sweet potatoes, but I say, why don't you just grow a squash that tastes like sweet potatoes, and that's delicata squash. It ripens very early, and you don't have to cure it. You can eat it right at when you harvest it in the fall. You can even eat the skin. So this is a sweet potato squash that's very easy to grow, and it doesn't take the vines. They have some varieties that are bush types. They don't take up your whole garden.
Is this your favorite variety you've said in the past?
It's one of my favorites. I like the buttercup squashes are my favorite,
okay.
But this is definitely, especially in an urban setting where you can't let your vines take over. I want to go back to this one. Peppers, instead of just the bell peppers, try some of these Italian frying peppers like Carmen. They're super easy to grow, and super productive, and they're great for slicing and frying.
Are they more like a bell pepper
they taste
tasting?
yes.
Yeah,
but they're
not
but they're
spicy.
easier to grow.
Okay.
But explore. And the last one, sometimes our exploration, we have a few Titanic situations, and so I'll just end on a Titanic situation. This was Komotsuna. So we tried this last year in our trials, and it's a wonderful green because it's so dark green and flavorful, and it can take the heat, so it can grow all summer. But the problem was our gardeners thought it was a little too flavorful and like bitter tasting. And so if you're not really into mustard, this is like one of our Titanic situations. So it just happens. And the other thing is, you may not like it, but flea beetles love it. So it's like a flea beetle magnet. So that's one thing about research trials. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Okay, where do you get this stuff? I encourage you to go to our website. There it is, again, ndsu.ag/home garden trials. And you can download our varieties that we recommend for North Dakota. These are the ones that hundreds of gardeners have tested, and I have a list of seed sources. And I'll just highlight a few seed sources. I really think everybody should get the seed catalog of Johnny's Selected Seeds. They have a wonderful breeding program, produces a lot of winners, but mainly, I don't care if you buy your seeds from them, get the catalog because it's full of great information. They'll tell you, when to sow the seed, how far apart to put the plants, here's the bugs to worry about, here's the diseases to worry about, here's how you harvest it. It's a great garden resource. If you're an organic grower, I encourage you to get the high mowing organic seed catalog. And that it's all organic seeds, and they offer hybrid varieties that perform very well in our trial. So High Mowing, that's a great seed company if you're an organic gardener. And the last organic gardener is one from North Dakota, Prairie Road Organic Seed. Prairie Road Organic Seed, based out of North Dakota. And they develop varieties that do well in North Dakota, and it works. We test their varieties. They don't offer hybrids, though, but they have organic seeds that you can save yourself if you want. But they're winners. They have good quality varieties that really do well in North Dakota. And it's a great family, the Poto family there, and I encourage you to support them. So, with that being said, here we are. The trail of our garden season is just beginning. It's going to be a winding trail. Look out for those bugs, and let's pray for a lot of rain. So good luck on your adventure this year.
What would you say, for people who do go to those seed sources, how early should they be ordering their seed? Because I do know, I've looked on a couple websites of different things already, and it's out of stock, out of stock, out of stock.
That's right. Yesterday would have been the best
Yeah.
day. So, no, but I recommend you go to our website, get our list of recommended varieties, okay? And on the back, we got the seed sources, okay? And request their free seed catalogs, or you can order online. And most, if you shop around, almost all varieties you can still find. So, I order most of my seeds in February and March, and maybe one or two varieties I didn't catch in time, but you're going to be okay.
And how about for listeners who are interested in doing the home garden variety trials? When could they expect catalog and ordering?
Right. So first of all, first step is to go to our website and sign up to get our catalog. And our catalog will be out in about a month. And and we encourage everybody to join our team. We had 365 families submit results from their trials last year. So, and you don't have to be a fancy grower. You can just even be a kid who wants to garden. Everybody's welcome to join. So yeah, it's a real fun project, and we'll be testing about 100 varieties, and it's a roaring success. We get 100% of the people who tried the program last year said they would recommend it to a fellow gardener. That's not bad. Or
Very good.
99.5, so I'm rounding it up. There's always one troublemaker. So that's what I got today, guys.
Very good. Any other last thoughts from either of you?
Not me.
No, I was going to say.
Good to
me.
go. Well, we just want to thank everybody for tuning in on this episode of Dakota Growing, those who are joining us on the radio or the podcast platform as well. And of course, we hope that you join us for future episodes. Thank you, Jaden, for coming in and being a guest speaker.
Thanks for
And
having me.
We'll see everybody next episode.
Dakota Growing is a gardening show brought to you by Dakota Media Access and NDSU Extension. We discuss a variety of timely topics pertaining to your landscape, along with giving you tips and advice for your lawn, garden, and trees. If you have questions, call 701-221-6865 or email ndsu.burleigh.extension@ndsu.com. Dakota Growing airs on Radio Access 102.5 FM, Community Access Channel 12 or 612 HD, or online at freetv.org.